In this video, Dr. Jordan Peterson explains how we perceive the world using our structure.
So Binswanger said, what we perceive are first and foremost, Binswanger was a psychiatrist who was very much influenced, Binswanger and Boss were the people we're going to talk about mostly, were very much influenced by Heideggerian ideas. They say, what we perceive are first and foremost not impressions of taste, tone, smell, or touch, not even things or objects, but meanings. Okay, so the idea for the phenomenologist is that what being is made out of is meaning. It isn't that the objective world is made out of things, it's that being is made out of meaning. Now, some of those meanings can be positive, and some of them can be negative, and some of them can be neutral. But the fundamental constituent elements of being, the fundamental constituent element of being is meaning. And then there is an argument between Binswanger and Boss about how that meaning manifests itself. So Binswanger would say that you endow meaning on the world. So that's kind of a Nietzschean idea, that you create your own values. So that you have within you something he called an a priori ontological structure. It's a world design or a matrix of meaning that determines how the world manifests itself to you. Now, the easiest way to think about that is that, you're thrown into a particular time and place. That's another existentialist idea, and that's part of the absurdity of your life, is that you're here now in this particular context and situation. It's something you have to contend with. And that's true for everyone. There are arbitrary preconditions to everyone's being. And one of those arbitrary preconditions is the structure through which you look at the world. And that structure enables some things to be highlighted and some things to be ignored. And so the way that meaning manifests itself is a reflection of this a priori ontological structure, the a priori mode of being. So there can't be being, which is, say, your experience for the sake of our argument, without the structure that consists of you, that you consist of. And so that's a given. And it's the action of that structure that determines the meaning of things. Now, Boss would say exactly the opposite. He would say, that's the wrong way of looking at it. You should look at the totality of your existence, which is partly the broad natural world, the cultural world, and your own world. And you should note that meaning arises in different places of its own accord. You can't reduce it to the action, say, of this ontological, a priori ontological structure. And so one example would be, well, what about the meaning of things you don't understand? Well, it's hard to understand how the meaning of things you don't understand can be attributed to what you understand. The meaning seems to be there to begin with. So here's an example. You have a relationship with someone, and you discover that they have an affair. Well, the discovery of the affair is going to be something that's meaningful. Now, you don't know what the meaning is. You're going to interpret it to begin with, likely very negatively, except to the degree that part of you would like to escape out of the relationship. Right? Because sometimes if you're betrayed, you're happy about it because it's time for that to be over with. But in any case, there are things that you can encounter that you don't understand that are meaningful in and of themselves. So I think that you actually can't separate your structure from the structure of everything. They're always interacting, and meaning emerges out of the interplay of those. So here's another way of thinking about it. You're reading a book. The book is meaningful. Where's the meaning? Is it in your head? Is it in the book? Well, it's very difficult to say, right? Because obviously there's a subjective element to it. There's an element that's unique to you. But just as obviously, that meaning wouldn't manifest itself if it wasn't for the book. And of course, the book wouldn't be meaningful if you and the book weren't embedded in this complex structure. And so the meaning is an emergent property. The meaning is an emergent property of the interplay of all of the elements of being. That's a very interesting way of looking at things. So you have all these elements of being, and their dance produces meaning of one form or another. Now, you might say, if you were a phenomenologist, that some of that meaning is going to be life-sustaining, and some of it is going to be life-destroying. And the phenomenologist would say, from a clinical perspective, that if you exist in a system of meaning revelations that are life-destroying, that you should turn your attention away from them towards meanings that are life affirming. And you know, one of the things that's quite interesting about the phenomenological perspective is that you can experiment with it quite easily. So I could say to you, for example, a couple of phenomenological experiments. One would be, for the next 2 weeks, you want to detach yourself in some sense so that you're a curious observer of your being. You're not necessarily trying to direct it. You know, you're just trying to let it unfold. And then what you might want to watch for is when the meaning that manifests itself as things flow around you is clearly meaning of the life-affirming type. Now you'll see that, you know, it depends on how well situated you are in some sense, because if you're surrounded by, if your experiential field is primarily negative, these are going to be relatively rare events, but they will still not be non-existent. They might only happen for a few seconds or a few minutes every day or every 2 days. But so say, okay, you notice that all of a sudden you're in a place where things are the way you would like them to be. So you could say you're in a place where being is manifesting itself as acceptable. Okay, so that's a place where nihilism is not appropriate. It doesn't apply because the quality of the experience is such that it's life-affirming. You have to notice that. It's something that happens. And then you might ask yourself, well, okay, what are the preconditions that enable that? What are the preconditions that enabled all of the different sub-elements of being to work harmoniously together at that time and place so that that was the meaning that emerged? And then the next question might be, how would it be possible for me to allow that to happen more frequently? And so you can tilt yourself towards life-affirming meanings and away from, say, meanings that are associated with despair and nihilism. But you do that partly. It's almost like you're navigating in a boat. In fact, I think you are. I think you're navigating to find the line between order and chaos, because that's where the meaning is. That's exactly where the meaning is. And you can feel it, like it's a place. And that's the other thing the phenomenologists are trying to get across. These things are real. They're not secondary manifestations of some deeper reality. They are reality itself. I also think, and we'll talk about this more when we get to the neuropsychological portion of the course, that your brain is actually set up first and foremost to detect meaning. You detect meaning before you detect object. And it's partly because you have to detect meaning so that you know what to do when something happens very rapidly. And there are times when you have to figure out what to do before you have enough time to even see what's there. You just don't have the time.